Hi folks, thanks for joining us. We're back by popular demand for a second series of one-to-one, and we're kicking off with Mary. So welcome Mary, thanks for joining us. And how do you feel about being the first victim of series 2?
Very nervous, but are we not in series 3?
Not yet, no. Series 3 might happen. It all depends how series 2 goes, so no pressure.
No, I'm quite nervous, but fine.
Yeah, it's a great honour to be the first guest. But
all right, thank you very much then.
Great responsibility as well, because if series 2 bombs, then we'll probably blame you. So, but nah, it'll be fine. Did you enjoy the previous series?
Oh yeah, we watched them all. Really good. Yeah. It was quite nice to hear all the testimonies, really. Yeah, and some of my family watched them, so it was really good. We got feedback from them. Mm.
Was there any in particular that stood out for you that you would recommend people to go back and watch again?
Verena Fields. It was amazing. We didn't know any of that. It was really good. And Louise's as well. Yeah, I would recommend folk had another look at these ones.
Yeah, very good. Well, all the videos are still available on the Facebook page and the YouTube channel, so if you want to go back and watch some of them, then that would be great. Obviously, we've had a pretty crazy few months with the coronavirus. What was the most difficult thing for you about the lockdown, apart from being locked up with Joyce all that time?
Well, yeah. Actually, the lockdown for us wasn't that bad because we were out most of the time. I think I can count on one hand how many days I got to stay in the house because we would be out and seeing to Isabel and Kathy and, doing Isabel's shopping and just making sure they were okay, visited Anne and, really for us that it was quite an active time, but keeping safe at the same time.
Yeah, so you need another lockdown for a bit of a rest.
Yeah.
We're going to go rewind back to the beginning and just learn a wee bit about your life. So you got off to a terrible start in life. You were born and brought up in Dundee.
This is true.
I'm only kidding, just for anyone that's watching from Dundee. It's a lovely city, I'm sure. But which part of Dundee was it that you grew up in?
Well, mainly around the centre of Dundee, up off Victoria Road. We stayed in William Street, we stayed up the Hilltown area. In actual fact, we did quite a bit of moving about, and we stayed out in a farm at one point. So I was on the move quite a lot, Gareth, as a youngster. And eventually we came back and we actually settled in Dundee when I was about 12 or 13.
Right.
So,
What was Dundee like at that time? What was it like growing up there?
It was okay, actually. I think it was probably better than it is now, even. We weren't aware of all the gang warfare and stuff and the drugs and the things like that. We didn't see much of that. A lot of people on alcohol problems, but apart from that.
And what about your family then? What sort of family did you have?
Well, I'm the eldest of 7.
Big family then.
Big family. And my mum always seemed to be having a baby, so I was the second mother in the house. I think that's why I've not got any family, because I looked after all of them to help my mum. It wasn't. Most people say, "Oh, I came from a happy childhood and stuff like that." I have to say, I didn't really, because my dad had a problem with alcohol, and that made life a bit crazy at times. So, but I am what I am, and that, I've learned from all these things, so it was fine. I love my mum and dad, but just those problems.
And you got on well with your siblings then? I guess if you were looking after them all the time, you were the boss.
Yeah, most of the time, just like any family. We all had our moments. My sister next to me, Joan, I think she was the bully of the family. She kept everybody in line. But no, and we're still a very close family, I have to say. If there's anything happening, we're all together. We help one another. So yeah, we are a close family, really.
Yeah, and a lot of them still in Dundee.
Yes, I'm just trying to think. They're all in Dundee still. I'm the only one that's out of Dundee.
You're the only one that's managed to escape.
Yes. I escaped when I was about 15 and never really went back.
And what about in terms of religion? Was there any kind of religious background in your family at all? Church going or anything like that?
Well, my grandmother, my dad's mum, she was in the Salvation Army, and I think that probably was the first introduction to going to a Sunday school or something, was through that. But apart from that, no, there wasn't any other religion or church going. My mother was a Catholic and my father was a Protestant. So, but we were all brought up in the Protestant schools and things. So that was the only background there was until I was about, I'm trying to think, we went to Sunday school at Hillbank Hall, and I would have probably just been early teens or something, not even as old as that. And we went to, I don't know how we got there. Can't remember that far back, Gareth, but we went to Sunday school there, and we went to a thing called the Band of Hope at Hillbank Hall, which would have been a children's meeting. We would call it a children's meeting nowadays, and that's how I came in contact with the gospel.
Right, okay. So that was kind of about the age of 12, 13, did you say?
Yeah, yep,
Yeah. What was your kind of take on Christianity at that point? Did you give it much serious thought, or was it just something to go along to?
I think initially it was something to go along to. To be honest, when I went there, I felt safe. I felt comfortable. I felt that I should be there. Don't ask me why I thought these things, because I don't know, but I just felt I wanted to be there. It wasn't that I had any notion that, I needed to be saved or didn't understand it at that time, but I just enjoyed going. And we'd walk. To be honest, we used to walk for miles. We didn't have get lifts at those days. We walked for miles to go to Sunday school on a Sunday. And I would drag my brothers and sisters with me.
And so how did things develop from that to the point where you did become a Christian then? How did your interest develop?
I think that the more I went along, the more I learned. And it was a Sunday night, actually, we were at the meeting. And because we were young, we just always got put to the front so we could be, kept an eye on. Mum and Dad wasn't there or anything. It was just us children. And I remember a Sunday night, and I can't remember, it was a doctor, somebody or other, I can't remember his name now. I used to always remember it. But he was quite an oldish guy. And he was speaking this Sunday night about going to hell and about needing to be saved. And it was just like something clicked, really. And I was with Susan. You'll know Susan, my older sister, half-sister. She was there, and she was crying. And I think I wasn't very happy. I was a bit weepy too. And I remember one of the girls coming across to us and saying, "Would you like to speak to the speaker?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I would." Now, Gareth, you didn't know me when I was really shy, quiet. I wouldn't have said boo to a goose. I was
Definitely don't remember
painful, painfully shy. But yeah, that's how it came about. It was a Sunday night, and I got saved that Sunday night. I just want to say, that night when I went home, I told my grandmother, because we stayed with my gran at that time, and she's the one that was in the Salvation Army. And she said to me, "Mary," I was called after her, by the way, "Mary, if you go on like that, you'll do fine." And that was her exact words. I can remember that 50 odd years on. That's what she said to me that night. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how did it go down with your friends and your family when you became a Christian?
Well, it didn't go down very well with my father, I have to say. I didn't really have many friends at that point. I was working, and the folks where I worked laughed at it and says, "Oh, we'll give you 6 months," type of thing. And my dad, he was really awful. He used to send for me to come out the meetings on a Sunday night. I had to come home halfway through the meetings. So it was a bit embarrassing and hard, but I kept going back because I wanted to.
Did you get baptised?
I did.
Soon?
Well, it was about 10 months or so later. I was baptised. Susan and I were baptised at the same time, and the chap that spoke the night I was saved was there for the baptisms, which was really, really nice. And to be honest, I don't know, when I was baptised, it was like a weight had been lifted. It was an amazing experience. It's something you just never want to forget. Yeah, it wasn't long after that I actually left home. So I was really quite young. I'd be 16 or something.
Yeah, so by that point you'd left school, I take
Yes,
it.
yeah, I was left school.
And you sort of started work immediately after you left school, I take it?
I did the next day, almost. Well, the first Monday after I left school, I started work. Yeah.
What was the first job?
It was newsagents in the town, newsagent and stationery, and we had to be there, for 6 o'clock in the morning to do the papers and things. But I loved it. I enjoyed it. But I also had a job as I worked in the chip shop in William Street as well. So I worked in the morning and I worked at night. But I enjoyed it. I really did. Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned about your family. Am I right in saying that some of your family members have become Christians since? So you were the first in the family?
I was the first, yes. Joe, my brother, he actually made a profession. And I would believe that he was saved, although he has backslidden. Obviously, he doesn't go anywhere anymore, but he does still believe. And it was several years. It was when I came to stay with Joyce, and the meetings were on down in Errol. My mum and dad, we took my mum and dad along, and they got saved. So it was an amazing experience, that, because we had gone down to say, look, come into the meetings. We're like, oh no, we're not going to. And I think I had said to them, well, if you don't come, I'm not coming back to see you, type of thing, just joking. And they did come.
It's one way to get them along.
I know. And it was Jack Hay that was speaking that night, and he said he could see my mother sitting on the edge of her seat. It was so powerful. And it was just the next week when we went to see them. They both said, oh, we've been waiting for you to come and tell us how to get saved. And that was it. My father went away to the bathroom, my mother went to the bedroom, and that was them saved. And my mother came back and said, I'm ready to go now.
So both saved on the same day? Yes,
Wow. And it was a transformation was amazing, I have to say. He gave up the drink, smoking, and something I'd never thought he could do, but he did. So, and a much happier life and home then for them.
And that was quite a number of years, obviously, after you'd become a Christian then?
Yes, yeah. As I say, it would be over 16 years, because I prayed for them for that length of time that they would get saved, and they did. So anybody listening, do not give up.
Yeah, that's a great lesson. And some of your siblings as well have become Christian?
Joan gets saved, my sister next to me, and she's been to the meeting up here, but she goes to the gate with her, and her husband gets saved as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it is quite good, really.
So you've got your job in the newsagent, you've got your job in the chip shop. How did you go from that to becoming a midwife?
Oh, it was a long process, but I left the job in Dundee and went away to work in a hotel up in Glenshee, and then I was there for more than a year, and then I left there and I went down to work in Stormontfield, just outside Perth, and that's when I came in contact with Perth. Right. Now, in the time that I was away, I have to say, spiritually and everything, and I was even engaged to be married at that point. But obviously it didn't happen. And I came down, and Willie Walker and Isabel came to find me at Stormontfield, because the Dundee folk had said, had they come across me, and they came looking for me, and they invited me to come for my tea on the Sunday and come to the meeting. And in one way, that was how I came back to the meeting and came to Perth. How
many years had you been away from things spiritually? Quite a few years, or?
Yeah, well, I was thinking about when I left 16, I came back probably 1920, so maybe about 5 years in total before I came back to the Lord.
Was it an easy thing to come back to the Lord and back to the church, or was it a struggle?
It was a wee bit of a struggle, because I remember I was going to the meeting, and I still was going out with this guy who was a soldier, and it came to a head one Saturday, to be honest, and I was supposed to be at a meeting that Joyce Ellis was getting baptised at, and I didn't turn up because the boy I was going with came back from the army that night. And I remember going home thinking to myself, I can't do this any longer. I can't sit on the fence. I can't be, just there. I have to be one thing or the other. And I remember getting down on my knees that night and praying. I don't think I've ever prayed as hard there before or after that I prayed that night. And I knew what God's answer was. And I just said, look, if I'm to marry this bloke, it'll be fine. If I'm not to, I will never see him again. Now, I just left him at the door. And I am now 69 years old, and I have never seen that guy to this day from that night.
Wow. That was
So
your answer
God was
then.
loud,
Yeah.
loud and clear.
Wow.
So, and I think that after that, it was, I just, I came back to the meeting and I knew I was doing the right thing then.
Yeah. And you found a spiritual home at the Gospel Hall in Perth.
Yes, and the Ravies, Annie Ravy, was my spiritual mother, really. She took great care of me and guided me and helped me, and just generally looked after me, which was really good, because that's what I really needed. I needed an older person to kind of guide me along.
That's when you eventually decided to become a midwife then? Just to get back to that point.
I decided to become a nurse.
Right.
But I left school at 15, had no qualifications or anything, and I had talked over with Annie Ravy, and she helped me to get a letter to send off to whoever was in charge at the PRI at that time, and I got an interview and amazingly got in, but to do enrolled nursing. So I did that, and that took me 2 years, and then I decided I would like to do midwifery. But I had to go way down to Newcastle to do that. And that was an amazing story as well, because again, had no hires or O grades or anything, and sat an entrance exam and passed that and got in to do midwifery. So I was down in Ashington for 3.5 years, and then came back to Perth after that and did general nursing. But I went to college and got hires and O grades to do that, and then did general nursing. So I have everything all back to front, and did a degree in everything, all the wrong way around, but did it. No, it was the best job ever, a midwife.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like the best job ever to me, to be honest with you, but but I'm sure you enjoyed it.
I did.
Yeah, I guess it must be amazing to see all these little babies just starting out in life.
Oh, definitely. When you deliver a baby, you can see how great God is, that this perfect little thing comes, into the world. It is amazing. Yeah, it is the best job.
My mum did that for a while as well, and I remember when I was little, she used to come home and say that she delivered a baby the other night. I thought she was going round in like a van dropping babies off at people's houses or something, but
being the stork. Yeah.
So, and that how long did you do midwifery for then in the end? That was what you continued to do?
Yeah, that was my job. I nearly 30 odd years. I did 27 years up here before I retired, but I was a midwife for over 30 years.
How many babies do you reckon you delivered in that time? Did you keep track?
Lot. I used to keep a note of it, and then I gave up. That
led to you going out on the trip to Botswana. Joyce mentioned this in her interview that we did in the first series, but you had a trip out to Botswana.
That's right, that was in 1979. I just qualified as a midwife then, and we went out to Botswana, and it was like the consolidation of my course going to Botswana, because I helped Jim and Irene in the clinic, and I learned an awful lot from them. Not just in midwifery, but in general nursing as well. And Jim taught me how to take blood from patients and things that I really didn't know much about when I was at home, because I hadn't got to that stage. But when I came back, I felt quite qualified to be doing things then. That was a great time out in Botswana, and we learned so much.
You didn't deliver any babies out there, did you?
No, no. Most of the babies would be delivered in the bush in Botswana, unless it was an actual problem. You wouldn't see them. They would just go off, deliver their baby and come back to work type of thing in those days. But no, and they didn't have postnatal care where you went round to see them. I think Irene took me the first day we arrived to go and see a baby somewhere, and how she found this baby, I'll never know, because there's no street names or anything like that. She just knew where to go to this hut.
You could probably hear it crying.
Well, it probably was one of many. Yeah, but it was good. Yeah.
That was a great experience, I'm sure. And so a few other things that you've been involved in I wanted to touch on, and obviously for anyone that saw the interview with Joyce, there's a lot of similarities. You've done a lot of things together. Maybe just mention just your experience. Obviously you started to share a house with Joyce at some point.
Yes. Yeah.
How's that been over the years?
Well, it's been over 40 years since Joyce and I moved in together. Believe it or not, we didn't think we would last at 6 months. We were slightly different to start with, but we got on. We got on quite well. But no, it's been fine, and because we've got similar interests, it makes a big difference that you're sharing with somebody who's similar to yourself, especially in belief. You know, that's. I think that's one of the main things about it. But we both have our places in the house. I do some things and she does other things, so we complement one another.
Yeah, she's good at the cooking, so that's always a bonus.
I'm good at the washing, ironing, and cleaning and gardening. No use of cooking.
Same here. You've been serving God together as well in different things. The girls' classes, Joyce spoke about a fair bit, and Louise in her interview spoke a wee bit about them too. But you did them for a number of years. Is there any just general reflections or memories you've got of the girls' classes?
Yeah, I think that the number of girls that came through the house, both here and up at Craigie in our other house and down in Ayrshire, it was really good. Some of them were really interested. One of the girls down in Ayrshire got saved. Well, a couple of the girls that are clear in mind is people like Tammy.
Tammy, if you're watching, there's a shout out to you.
Yeah, oh, she was fantastic. She was just lovely, and yeah, I think to begin with, I wouldn't have been very good at preaching the gospel. I was very nervous, and especially when Annie Reevy would come and help as well, you see, and I was like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this. But no, I think my work helped me in being able to be able to preach to the girls, and yeah, it was good to know that you could tell them a bit about the Lord and pray hard for them that they would get saved. Yeah. But we had lots of fun with them.
Yeah, I'm sure. and great to see that, you know, some of them have been saved and some of them have continued.
Yeah.
And
that has been a great thing. That's right. Yeah. That is the icing on the cake for us, really, isn't it? To see them saved and going on. Yeah. And
the other thing, I suppose, is the toddlers group. You've been involved in that right from the beginning. Was that just an excuse to hold more babies? Is that
maybe? No, I wasn't involved in the first couple of years. I was involved after I left work. I retired, so that would now be 10 years. But I thought I could maybe help because of my job. I could maybe help in this direction, and so I volunteered to give a hand. And again, since we've been able to tell them a bit of a story, you now feel it's not that it wasn't worthwhile before, but it's more worthwhile because you're able to get a bit of the gospel across, and you're hoping that the parents that are there are actually listening. And I think they are, because some of them have shown some interest. It has been encouraging, I have to say. And I think Marjorie does a fantastic job there in keeping in touch with them all.
Yeah. And that's been off obviously during the lockdown, but you've restarted just recently with through the letterbox thing.
Well, we actually did it when we stopped because of the lockdown. A few weeks later, we decided that we would do that. So all last term, before the summer holidays. We were doing through the letterbox, toddlers through the letterbox, and then we decided that, well, we're not getting back to the hall, so we'll better do it again. Not we better, but we'll do it again.
Yeah.
So this term, we're being encouraged. We've been round to see all the ladies this time, and we did some baking, and we split it all up between 5 of us, and we visited them and took them the lessons and cakes. And Wilma, Lillian Lamont are now coming to help with the weekly message that we'll send out to them. So we'll continue to do this until we get back into the hall.
And I noticed that you had been recording some of the songs you enjoyed. Yeah, and just for anyone that doesn't know, Mary is the Jimi Hendrix of the Gospel Hall. She's the guitar player. So,
well, I wasn't sure about that to start with, Gareth.
No, it's really good. I enjoyed watching them. So, are you planning to do more of that as well?
Probably, if they give us, if they say they want it, yeah, we will do it. But you just have to forget that what you're actually doing. You know, that you're singing to a machine.
Yeah. Well, if anyone's watching who has a favourite nursery rhyme or chorus that they would like Joyce and Mary to sing for them, just maybe put it in the comments down below, and we'll see if we can arrange that. I think you can maybe get your own little YouTube show or something, just singing the choruses. And I suppose the other thing that you have been involved in quite a lot in recent years is like we mentioned at the beginning, with the older ladies in the church, taking them out. Have you been able to restart that in terms of taking them out again just recently?
Yes, yeah, just recently. Once the lockdown for the shielded people like Isabel and Kathy and that was lifted, we started to take them out on a Monday and a Tuesday again, just to let them get out the house for a wee while. And as I say, I was doing Isabel's shopping, or Joyce and I were doing it, and she's now coming to do her own shopping with us. So that gets her out just to see what's going on in the world. So we have started that again. Yeah,
that'll be a tough job keeping all that bunch in check.
Oh, it is hard sometimes to keep them all in control.
That's a great thing that you do with them. Well, just a few more general things, as we always kind of round off with a few general questions, just reflections on your life and faith and so on. Have you got a favourite Bible verse? I always ask people that.
I know, and when you had that on the list, I'm thinking, a favourite, the Bible, it's full of stuff. And it was really, really difficult in a way to sort of just pick one verse, because there's many bits I like, lots of, like a chapter or something like that. But there was one thing that I thought, and I must have underlined this years and years ago, because it's in my Bible I brought from Botswana. And I think it's because of the job I did as well. And it's in Psalm 139, and it's verse 13 and 14. And it says, For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yeah, I can see how that would be relevant to your experiences.
Yeah, and I think that has been, a verse I probably, when I first started to do midwifery or something like, I would have come across and thought, yeah, that's me. That's what I think it's really good. So yes, that's my verse for today.
Have you got a favourite hymn or Christian song?
Oh, I've been going. Sometimes I'm going about and things are going through my head, and the verse that's been going through, He hideth my soul in the cleft of the rock, that one, and it goes. I don't even know the whole hymn, but just these lines go through my head all the time, and I'm singing it away to myself.
Very good.
So yeah.
Favourite preacher?
Oh, Gareth. No, you can't say that. You're all good. Okay. That's not a good question, Gareth.
No. You've got to throw in a few tricky ones. And best thing about being a Christian?
The best thing? I would think for me it is the promise of going to be with God, with being the Lord Jesus Christ in heaven. I think that's probably the thing that's the most important in a way to me. But being a Christian is, I live a different life to what the rest of my family live. My brother said to me just the other day, he was here, and he says, there are people who don't want you to be better. He says, but you and Joyce want us to be better. Now, I thought that was the best compliment a brother could give to us. And I suppose it's trying to live as a believer and before your family. And it can be really, really difficult because some of them have their own beliefs, really, and they don't want to really know. Yeah. So, yeah, going to be with Christ is probably my most favourite bit of being a believer.
Yeah, great. Anything else you'd like to mention that we haven't covered just before we round things off?
Oh, I think we've said so much, Gareth.
Well, no, it's been great. I think that's us pretty much done. So Series 2, Episode 1 in the bag. Thanks for sharing your story with us, Mary. I'm sure those who are watching will find it really interesting. And thanks to everyone who has tuned in. And hopefully you'll be able to join us again next week, and we'll be back with somebody else. So bye for now. Thanks very much, and God bless.
Thank you.